Back in 1994, director Robert Zemeckis released a movie that changed Hollywood forever. That film was Forrest Gump. What initially appeared to be a simple story about a man from Alabama quickly evolved into one of the most beloved movies in history. It won awards, broke box office records, and left a mark on audiences around the world. People laughed, cried, and walked away with a new perspective on life itself. The magic of Forrest Gump was not only in its touching story, but also in the groundbreaking work behind the scenes. The film used visual effects far ahead of their time, recreated decades of American history with incredible detail, and featured unforgettable performances. Every moment on screen was carefully crafted, yet some of the most iconic scenes were not made as smoothly as they appear. Now, years later, the cast and filmmakers are opening up about what really happened. Tom Hanks has shared how he prepared for the role that changed his career. The young actors who played Forrest as a boy spoke about the pressure of bringing such an unusual character to life. Behind the camera, the visual effects team found creative ways to make impossible scenes look real with technology from the early 90s. Costumes, makeup, music, and editing choices added layers of meaning that many fans never noticed. The untold stories behind Forrest Gump reveal just how much dedication and innovation went into making it a masterpiece. From the real-life locations that stood in for fictional towns to the improvised lines that became unforgettable quotes, this journey shows the entire path that shaped a classic. Stay tuned because you won't want to miss this. Number 10. The bench that became history. The most famous scenes in Forrest Gump happen at a bus stop on a bench. This was where Forrest said, "Life is like a box of chocolates." The line became one of the most remembered quotes in movie history. Many people still say it today when discussing life's surprises. The bus stop was set up in a square called Chippewa Square. This square is a quiet area with trees and brick paths. The movie team placed a simple wooden bench there facing the street. During filming, Tom Hanks sat on that bench day after day while cameras captured different angles of Forrest, sharing his story with strangers who came and went. After the movie was finished, the bench became very famous. Visitors from all over the world came to Savannah in search of it. The bench, however, did not stay in the square. To protect it, the city moved the bench into the Savannah History Museum. Today, it has become a treasured art that everyone can see and admire. Robert Zemeckis would later talk about the impact of the location. We wanted authenticity. Chippewa Square gave us that real American town feeling that was essential to Forrest's story. The location itself is important too. Chippewa Square is not a movie set. It is a real place where people walk, talk, and sit every day. This choice lent the scene a sense of authenticity. Viewers could believe Forrest was just an ordinary man telling his story on an ordinary day. This one bench in one small square in Georgia became a piece of movie history. Number 9. Vietnam and South Carolina. When Forrest Gump goes to fight in Vietnam, the movie shows thick green jungles, heavy trees, and long stretches of wet land. Many viewers thought these scenes were filmed in Asia. The truth is very different. The Vietnam scenes were actually filmed in two different locations in South Carolina. The first location was Hunting Island State Park. The second location was Ocean Creek Golf Course on Fripp Island. At first, it might sound strange to use a golf course for a war movie. A golf course is typically a serene setting where people walk and play. The land, with its thick grass and expansive spaces, proved ideal for filming battle scenes. With careful camera angles, smoke, and sound effects, the movie turned the calm golf course into a battlefield. The crew worked hard to make these South Carolina places look like Vietnam. They added fake explosions, military vehicles, and actors dressed in army uniforms. The mix of real land and movie tricks created powerful images. Tom Hanks and the other actors had to move through water, mud, and tall grass. The conditions were tough, which helped the scenes feel real. These choices saved the movie money and time. Filming in South Carolina was easier than traveling to another country. Yet the result was so convincing that many people never guessed the truth. Hunting Island and Ocean Creek Golf Course became part of movie history. They show how the right location, even in America, can be turned into another world on screen. Number 8. Football and the long run. When Forrest Gump is depicted as a young man, one of his first notable talents is his incredible speed. The movie shows him running across a football field at a speed faster than anyone expected. These football scenes were filmed in real stadiums in the South. One of the central locations was the University of South Carolina in Columbia. The large stands, bright lights, and green field gave the movie an authentic look. Extras filled the stadium to act as cheering fans, and the football uniforms were designed to resemble those of the 50s and 60s. With camera tricks, the scenes made it seem like Forrest was scoring touchdowns in front of thousands of people. The movie also needed to show Forrest running in various locations across America. This sequence is one of the most famous in the film. To make it appear as though Forrest truly crossed the country, the crew filmed in multiple states. South Carolina and Georgia were among them, chosen because of their open roads and changing landscapes. In Georgia, they used long, bare highways. In South Carolina, the crew used quiet streets lined with trees to illustrate how Forrest continued to move forward, regardless of his location. The running scenes were carefully planned. Tom Hanks had to appear as if he had been running for weeks, then months, and even years. The crew changed his hair, beard, and clothes to match each stage of the journey. At first, his face was clean, his hair short, and his shirt neat. Later, he appeared with long hair, a heavy beard, and worn clothing. This change revealed how much time had passed without the need for words. The landscapes also played a big role. Wide open roads, mountains, fields, and deserts all helped tell the story. Even though these scenes were filmed in many states, the final movie makes it feel like one long, continuous, non-stop run. Editing, camera angles, and music connected each shot. The idea of Forrest running across America is more than just part of the plot. It became one of the film's lasting images. People all over the world remember the scenes of him running with strangers joining behind him. The decision to film in different states, such as South Carolina and Georgia, helped make the film more believable. It gave the movie a sense of scale, as if Forrest truly went from coast to coast. Acting these scenes took a huge toll on him, and he went on to later say, "I worked out quite a bit and it was all running. My buttocks, as Forrest would put it, were in particularly spectacular condition." Behind the scenes, these moments reveal how careful planning and the strategic use of real locations can create an unforgettable story. With the right mix of performance, costumes, and location, Forrest's long run became one of the most iconic journeys in movie history. Number 7. The brother who helped the run. The run across America is one of the most memorable parts of Forrest Gump. Audiences still talk about it, even decades later. Forrest is shown running for no apparent reason, except that he felt like doing so. This simple idea grew into one of the most potent images in the film. Yet behind the scenes, the running scenes were far from simple. They required planning, endurance, and even help from family. Tom Hanks gave a performance that touched hearts, but not every running shot was of him. The truth is that many of the running scenes were acted by his younger brother, Jim Hanks. Jim is also an actor, though not as famous as Tom. For the movie, he became a double whenever Forrest had to be seen running far down a road or across a vast landscape. This choice was not just about looks, it was about the physical demand of the role. The run across America had to be filmed from multiple angles and in various locations. Tom did the close-ups in scenes where you could see his face clearly, while Jim handled many of the faraway shots. This decision saved time and energy. Filming a movie is tiring, and running in costume repeatedly can be exhausting. By having Jim step in for the wide shots, Tom was able to save his strength for the close-up moments that required his acting skills. It also meant the film crew could capture more shots in less time without risking injury or delay. The locations used for the running scenes added to the challenge. Forrest was shown running across deserts, mountains, highways, and fields. These scenes were filmed in several states, each chosen for its scenery. From the winding roads of South Carolina to the open highways of Georgia, the crew searched for places that looked different enough to suggest Forrest had traveled great distances. Costume and makeup changes also made the process complex. Forrest's look had to change as the years of running went by. In early shots, his hair was short, his face clean, and his clothes neat. Later, he appeared with a thick beard, long hair, and worn clothing. Each stage had to be planned carefully, and each change had to stay consistent through filming. This meant that some shots were filmed out of order. A day might have begun with Tom in a full beard for one scene, then moved back to clean-shaven for another. Even with these challenges, the run became one of the film's strongest symbols. It showed determination, patience, and the strange beauty of simple actions. Tom Hanks often said that having his brother help was one of the reasons the run worked so well. Without Jim, the endless wide shots would have been far harder to achieve. In the final film, audiences never knew the difference. The close-ups felt personal, showing Forrest's quiet determination. The wide shots gave a sense of scale, showing how far he had come. Together, Tom and Jim created a seamless performance. It looked as if one man had crossed an entire country on foot. The run across America is remembered not only for what it means in the story, but also for how it was accomplished, encompassing all the hard work and the clever blending of acting, using a double, and filming in real locations. Behind the simple look of Forrest's run was actually a much harder job that needed teamwork, patience, and the secret help of a brother. Number 6. Ping pong magic. Another unexpected fact about Forrest Gump is when Forrest became a ping pong champion. The story showed him learning the game after he was injured in Vietnam and soon became used to it. Later, he even traveled to play matches against another country. What made this story unique is not the story itself, but that it was created behind the scenes. Tom Hanks had to make audiences believe that Forrest was one of the best players in the world. This was not easy. Ping pong is a very fast game. The ball moves too quickly for cameras to capture clearly, especially in the early 90s when the film was made. If the filmmakers had attempted to show real ping pong at that speed, the ball would have appeared as a blur. The audience would not have been able to follow it, and the scenes would not have had the same excitement. The solution was to use a mix of acting skills and digital effects. Tom Hanks trained to move like a real ping pong player. He learned how to hold the racket in a way that makes the movements of hitting and returning the ball look natural. What he did not have to do was actually hit a ball during filming. In fact, there was no ball at all. The paddle was empty, and Tom had to act as if a ball was there. Later, after the filming was finished, the ball was added using digital technology. Computer artists placed the ball into the scene, matched its speed to Tom's movements, and made it look as though the ball was bouncing across the table at incredible speed. The trick was that Tom moved in rhythm, almost like a dance, while keeping his eyes and paddle in perfect timing. This made it possible for the digital team to add a ball that looked real. The use of digital effects in this way was groundbreaking at the time. Movies in the early 90s did not often use this kind of technique. It demonstrated the filmmakers' creativity in solving problems. They wanted the audience to believe in Forrest's amazing skill, and they found a way to make it work without confusing viewers. The ping pong scenes also required clever editing. Shots were cut together to make the matches seem fast and full of energy. The sound team added the sharp noise of the ball bouncing, timed exactly with Tom's paddle. Even though no ball was there on set, the sound gave the illusion of real play. Costume and set design added to the realism, with uniforms, tables, and backgrounds that looked like true international matches. The meaning of these scenes extended beyond simply showcasing a sport. In the story, ping pong became a symbol of hope and recovery. His simple focus on hitting the ball back again and again became part of his character. It also placed him at the center of history once more, illustrating how one man's unusual journey can intersect with world events. In the end, the ping pong scenes worked out well. Tom Hanks acted with precision, the digital artists added the ball, the editors built speed and rhythm, and the sound team filled in the missing details. Together, they created a set of moments that felt real, even though no ball was ever hit on set. It demonstrates how a movie can become truly amazing when good acting and smart technology work in tandem. What looks easy and simple on screen actually took a lot of hard work and creative ideas to make happen behind the scenes. Number 5. The look of time. One of the most powerful aspects of Forrest Gump is its ability to span numerous years of American history. Forrest grows up in the 50s, becomes a young man in the 60s, and then moves through the 70s and beyond. The story feels real because the film makes each time period look and sound different. This was not just the work of costumes and sets. The filmmakers also employed special lighting, filters, and even changes in film stock to ensure each era appeared authentic. When the movie shows the 50s, the look is soft and warm. The colors are brighter and more gentle, almost like an old family photo. This was done intentionally to remind audiences of how the past often lingers in our minds. The filmmakers wanted viewers to sense that they were looking back in time, to a period that was simpler in its appearance. As the story moved into the 60s, the look changed. The colors became more vivid and sharp. Scenes that took place in college or during major cultural changes were shot with stronger contrasts. The light felt more modern, and the camera work had a little more energy. This choice reflected the shift in the nation at the time, with music, politics, and social life becoming louder and more urgent. The 70s brought another change. Here, the film often used earth tones, darker shades, and a grainier texture. This effect made the scenes feel more like those from the movies and news footage of that decade. The filmmakers used filters and special processing to give the images a slightly older-looking quality. Viewers may not notice it directly, but it worked on the subconscious, making the period feel grounded in its own time. This is especially evident in the scenes that featured Forrest participating in political events or on television. The image's look evokes the feel of the 70s without needing explanation. One of the most remarkable aspects of the film was its seamless blending with real historical footage. Audiences saw him shaking hands with presidents, speaking at rallies, and standing in the middle of major world events. To make this convincing, the film team carefully studied how old newsreels and archival clips appeared. They then matched the footage so that Forrest did not stand out as fake. For example, if the real footage was black and white with a slightly rough texture, they made sure the added shots of Forrest had the same qualities. They copied everything down to the last detailed mark. This process required careful planning. First, Tom Hanks was filmed in front of a special background, often a plain screen. The footage was then incorporated into the actual historical film. Finally, colorists and editors refined everything until it appeared as one seamless piece of film. This level of detail was unusual for the early 90s and demonstrated the filmmakers' determination to create authenticity. The result was that Forrest Gump did not just tell us we were in the 50s, 60s, or 70s. It made us feel it through sight and sound. By shifting the film's look from decade to decade, the audience experienced time moving forward naturally. These choices are part of what makes the movie so iconic that decades after its release, it still stands as one of the greatest movies of all time. This attention to lighting, film stock, and historical style is one reason Forrest Gump remains such a respected work of cinema. It is not only a story about a man's journey, but also a visual journey through the historical events of the second half of the 20th century. The look of each time period helps carry the audience across history, step by step, year by year. Number 4. The voice of Forrest Gump. One of the most unforgettable parts of Forrest Gump is the way Tom Hanks speaks as Forrest. His soft, gentle, and unique accent has stayed in the minds of audiences for decades. The way he says every word makes the character feel real. What many people do not know is that this voice was not invented out of thin air. It was inspired by the young actor who played Forrest as a boy. His name was Michael Connor Humphreys. Michael was a child from Mississippi who had never acted before. When he came to audition, the filmmakers noticed his thick Southern accent. He spoke in a very distinct way. The director, Robert Zemeckis, liked this because it matched the idea of Forrest as someone from a small town in Alabama. Michael was chosen to play young Forrest, and the way he sounded became an essential part of the role. Initially, the plan was for Michael to emulate Tom Hanks, as Tom was the star. The idea was that the child would shape his voice to match the adult version of Forrest. However, when Tom Hanks heard Michael speak, he realized that the boy's accent had something special about it. It was authentic, natural, and full of personality. Tom decided that instead of Michael copying him, he would copy Michael. Tom began spending time with Michael just to listen carefully to the way Michael spoke. He paid attention to small details, such as how he pronounced certain vowels or paused between words. Tom practiced speaking the same way, repeating sentences until they felt natural. Over time, he learned to talk like him, and by the time filming began, both the child and the adult Forrest sounded like the same person at different stages of life. This decision gave the film a realistic feel. Audiences could believe that young Forrest grew into the adult Forrest without question. The shift from boy to man felt seamless because their voices connected them. It was a subtle detail, but it made a powerful difference. The voice also shaped the emotional tone of the movie. Tom Hanks did not just use Michael's accent. He used it to create a gentle way of speaking that made Forrest kind and honest. Every sentence sounded sincere. His voice was calm, steady, and a little slow, which matched Forrest's thoughtful nature. Viewers felt close to him because his words were delivered with such purity. The impact of this choice is still evident today. Many people recall humorous lines from the movie Forrest Gump. When they repeat them, they try to sound like Tom Hanks, the actor who played Forrest. Lines like "life is like a box of chocolates" are special because people remember both the words and the way they sounded. That famous way of talking became really memorable because of a young boy from Mississippi who helped Tom Hanks figure out how Forrest Gump should sound.
Life was like a box of chocolates.
Michael Connor Humphreys later said that acting in the film changed his life. Although he did not continue acting as a career, his contribution remained unforgettable. Without his accent, Forrest would not have had the same charm. Tom Hanks himself has admitted that the role of Forrest was shaped by Michael's influence. The voice of Forrest Gump serves as a reminder that sometimes the smallest details can create the strongest connections. A child actor's natural accent became the foundation for one of the most iconic performances in film history. Tom Hanks listened, learned, and carried that voice into every scene, helping to make Forrest Gump a timeless story. Number 3. The body changes that changed everything. One of the strongest characters in Forrest Gump is Lieutenant Dan, played by Gary Sinise. His story is powerful, heartbreaking, and inspiring. He began his military career as a proud soldier in the Vietnam War. After being badly injured, he lost both of his legs. The film portrayed his struggle with anger, despair, and a sense of purpose. Later, he found healing and built a new life. The character touched audiences everywhere, but bringing him to the screen was not an easy task. It required both emotional strength from the actor and groundbreaking technology from the film crew. During the early 90s, computer effects were not what they are today. Many of the tricks we see in movies now did not exist back then. So the filmmakers had to find a way to make Gary Sinise appear as if his legs had been amputated. The solution was simple in theory, but very hard in practice. Sinise wore tight blue cloth around his lower legs. This blue cloth acted like an eraser. In post-production, the effects team used computers to remove everything covered in blue. What remained on screen was the upper part of his legs, leaving the lower parts invisible. This technique was new at the time. Few movies had ever tried anything like it. The team had to carefully plan camera angles, lighting, and movement. If even one detail looked wrong, the illusion would fail. Yet the effect worked so well that many viewers truly believed Gary Sinise had no legs. Even today, the scenes still look real. For the early 90s, this was groundbreaking work that helped push visual effects forward in Hollywood. Still, technology was only part of what made Lieutenant Dan unforgettable. Gary Sinise's performance gave the character life. He showed the raw pain of a man who lost not only his legs but also his sense of identity. In one scene, he lay in a hospital bed filled with anger, shouting at Forrest. In another, he sat in despair, unsure of his future. These moments are hard to watch because Sinise made them so real. His acting brought depth that no computer trick could ever achieve. Later in the story, Lieutenant Dan began to heal. He learned to accept his new life. He became Forrest's partner in the shrimping business. He even found peace in his personal life. These changes made the character complete. The journey from despair to hope is what makes audiences remember him. Without Sinise's skill, the role might have been only about special effects. With his performance, it became one of the most powerful parts of the entire film. Gary Sinise's role also changed his career. He became widely known for his work in Forrest Gump and earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Beyond awards, the role connected him to real veterans. Sinise later devoted much of his life to supporting wounded soldiers and their families. Many people believe that his personal mission was inspired, in part, by his experience playing Lieutenant Dan. Another display of this was also seen in the character Bubba. One of the most memorable characters in Forrest Gump is Benjamin Buford Blue, better known as Bubba. Played by Mykelti Williamson, Bubba became famous for his distinctive protruding lower lip and his endless talk about shrimp. What many fans never realized is that the lip was not a real one. Williamson wore a prosthetic lip throughout the entire filming process. The prosthetic was uncomfortable and had to be applied fresh every single day of shooting. It changed the way Williamson spoke and even affected how he ate between takes. Despite the discomfort, he committed fully to the role because he knew it would make Bubba unforgettable. However, the prosthetic lip created an unexpected problem for Williamson after the movie was released. The look became so strongly associated with him that casting directors had trouble seeing him as anyone else. For years after Forrest Gump, Williamson struggled to find work. Directors and producers could only picture him as Bubba, complete with that distinctive lip. It became a strange curse that followed one of the film's most beloved performances. Number 2. Tom Hanks's shocking gamble. In the world of movies, most actors take a simple deal. They receive a set salary before the film is made, regardless of what happens later. When Tom Hanks first read the script for Forrest Gump, things were different. He saw the heart in the story, but he also saw the risks. The film was not a clear hit on paper. It was part love story, part war drama, part comedy, and even a history lesson rolled into one. Studios were unsure if audiences would accept it.
We lived about a quarter mile off Route 17.
Instead of demanding a huge paycheck, Hanks made a choice that shocked many people at the time. He agreed to work without being paid up front. His deal was simple but bold. If the movie failed, he would earn almost nothing. If it succeeded, he would share in the profits. Few actors had ever taken such a gamble, especially with a film as unusual as this. The gamble paid off in ways no one could have predicted. Forrest Gump was released in the summer of 1994, and it quickly became popular among audiences. Crowds filled theaters across America and around the world. Viewers laughed, cried, and returned again and again. By the end of its run, the film had made hundreds of millions of dollars. Hanks's choice to bet on the story made him tens of millions, far beyond what a normal salary would have given him. His courage to take that risk became one of the most famous deals in Hollywood history. The rewards were not just financial. The film went on to win 6 Academy Awards. It claimed the prize for Best Picture, proving that critics loved it as much as audiences. Robert Zemeckis, the director who took a chance on mixing heartfelt drama with cutting-edge effects, won Best Director. Tom Hanks himself walked away with the Oscar for Best Actor. It was his second Oscar, coming right after the one he won for his performance in Philadelphia. This confirmed him as one of the most respected actors of his generation. Behind the glamour of awards and money, the story carried something deeper. Hanks believed in Forrest Gump as more than a film. He saw it as a message about life's surprises, kindness, and the power of simple honesty. By tying his own success to the movie's success, he demonstrated that he trusted the film's ability to resonate with people. That trust was rewarded when audiences connected with it on a level that no one could have planned. What makes this fact so shocking is its rarity. Most stars would never risk their paychecks on a movie so uncertain. Hanks's move showed courage, but it also revealed his instinct for storytelling. He sensed the film had magic even when others doubted it. Years later, people still point to this decision as one of the smartest in movie history. Number 1. Elvis Presley Scene Trick. One of the coolest surprises in Forrest Gump happened near the beginning of the movie. Young Forrest met a man who was staying at his mother's house as a guest. That man turned out to be Elvis Presley, the famous singer. In the movie, Elvis is playing his guitar and sees young Forrest moving around in his leg braces. Forrest has to wear these braces on his legs to help him walk. When Elvis watches Forrest shuffle his feet back and forth, it gives Elvis the idea for his famous dance moves. What many people do not know is how this scene was created. Elvis Presley died in the year 1977. Almost 20 years before the idea of making Forrest Gump ever came to life. This meant that the filmmakers had to find a way to incorporate him into the movie. They solved this by using one of the earliest examples of digital face replacement technology. An Elvis impersonator was filmed for the scene, acting, moving, and strumming the guitar. The team then used old footage of Elvis, blending his real face into the new film. Computer effects cleaned up the edges and made the movements match. At the time, in the early 90s, this was groundbreaking. Digital tricks like this were rare, and most audiences had never seen anything like it before. The choice to include Elvis was more than just a fun trick. It helped illustrate how Forrest intersects with numerous significant people and events in American history. By placing Forrest in the middle of a famous cultural moment, the filmmakers made the story feel bigger and more connected to the world. This short scene became one of the film's most memorable. Forrest Gump is so much more than just a movie. From Elvis Presley dancing with Forrest to improvised locations, the filmmakers worked hard to create a world where history and fiction blended. Yet the magic was not only in the effects, it was in the acting, the music, and the heart of the story. Decades later, the film continues to inspire people because it reminds us that even the simplest lives can leave a lasting mark on the world. What do you think about the way Forrest Gump was made? Share your thoughts with us in the comments. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe for more inspiring content like this. Before you go, kindly watch the other videos on your screen.